Well, good morning, everyone. Excellent. Sounds like you can hear me all right. Perfect. Good to see you all here. Thank you very much for coming and joining or watching on the replay. Let's get right into what we're going to do today, which is we're going to do questions, and then we're going to jump into some deal analysis. So, first question I had today from the Discord that I wanted to hit on was there's a question from Financial Freedom about the website Fund and Grow. I'm gonna screen share here. Let's see. Let's go ahead and jump over here. Should be able to see the screen here. So here are websites. You're always gonna find things like this, and I just want to caution you about websites like this where you can find these. Unsecured ways of establishing debt. And there are always these offers of, hey, you'll get 50 to 250 grand right away. And it seems so lucrative because it seems like you'd be able to buy some real estate right away with this because it's unsecured, 0% for 18 months or whatever. Just be careful. These are nothing more than glorified credit cards. And usually most people that end up applying end up getting approved for business lines of credit that are like $5,000 to $10,000 with very high interest rates. It's not the kind of money that I usually recommend. These companies are usually looking for pretty cash flow intense businesses. So for most entrepreneurs, you don't end up getting approved for a lot. Not saying don't try it, just be careful using stuff like this for real estate. So that was one of the first questions I had, and I just always want to keep you folks aware of these like some more sneaky forms of debt. These things can sneak up on you fast. So then we've got Jake had a question about how do you estimate or how do you come up with an estimate for renovations? So when you go through a property. And really, this is going to be something that is different for every single area because the cost of labor is significantly different in Florida, Michigan, California, and the cost of labor is usually what drives a significant amount of bid prices. And so really, you just have to become super accustomed with what your circle charges. For example, I'm meeting at 9 o'clock this morning. I'll be meeting a plumber, an electrician, and a handyman, sort of staggered. And I know my electrician gladly works. He's licensed, gladly works for $70 an hour, and he'll have his children, they're like 22 or 23, he'll have them work for $40 an hour, and they're still considered licensed, and they've been doing this for like 4 years since they were 18. So I'm like, I'll take the whole crew. So I can run them through pretty quickly, and because I know how fast they work, I have a pretty good feel for. All right, so for about $1,500, I should be able to get done all the stuff that I need to get done. It comes with just experience in doing it. But if you don't have that initially, the best thing to do is just ask for bids from the people you're trying to work with the circles on. Now, oftentimes when you go for a bid, your pricing might end up being slightly higher because they're trying to protect themselves from underbidding. So oftentimes with the vendors that I really trust, I'll just go hourly or with some kind of day rate. But that obviously requires that they're not, lollygagging. So you do have to do some checking in when it's not on a bid. Now, there was another question about finding coming soon listings from Mark. I recommended things like, if you want to find coming soon listings, looking at a Zillow coming soon section, or there's a for sale by owners you can look at. Just be careful. A lot of coming soon listings, they're oftentimes overpriced. They're overpriced, and the reason they're listed as coming soon is because the seller's demanding they're listed as coming soon. They're really trying to get an unrealistic dollar volume for their property, but they're probably not going to get it. The other place I recommended, though, is Redfin. Redfin does have a coming soon section, and that is because some MLSs now allow you to submit properties as coming soon, which means you could pick up on those earlier rather than just agents hearing about coming soon listings. I personally love coming soon listings because there are the odd times that a listing will come up as coming soon, and you look at it and you go, that is exactly what I'm looking for, and it appears to be priced very well, and you try to grab it. I would say that's probably maybe 1 in 20, 1 in 30 times, though. So, all right, then we had... And then I'm going to respond to your questions here in the live chat as well. Jake asked this question about, what about bank hacking, where you move around and you do sort of a 5% down, you kind of keep moving around into the next property. I think this is a great strategy. He actually mentioned something known as the cash-in refinance. So let's touch on that for a second. Cash, usually this is usually what people do in real estate. You buy a place for $300,000, you live in it for a little bit, all of a sudden it's worth oh, I don't know, $450,000. And you do a refinance and you take some cash out. Let's say it's a rental property. So what could you do? Let's do this really quick. There we go. So you bought it for $300,000. Let's say you put 10% down. So you put $30,000 down. So you buy this deal for $300K. You're into it for $270 for a loan. So here we go. $300 as your buy, $270 as your loan. Now it's worth $450. What can you do? Well, you could now do what's known as a cash out refinance, right? You could pull out, if you're going to turn it into a rental, up to 80% debt, which in this case would be $360K, which means you could pull out the difference between the $360,000 you now have as a new loan and the $270,000 loan you had, purchase price notwithstanding. Doesn't really matter anymore, right? Because you have a $360 loan that's new, the old $270 loan, you pull out the difference of $90,000. That's old school, and is very commonly done. That's sort of the BRRR strategy where you're constantly refinancing. I caution against this, though, because you start building a very high debt portfolio and a very limited cash flow portfolio, and it just increases risk a little bit. Not saying you can't be okay with that, but it's something to be careful of. Now, another thing that some people might do is they might buy a $300,000 place with 10% down, and this is what Jake's comment was. And then a year later, they turn it into a rental. But then what they do is instead they do a cash-in refinance where they go, all right, well, I can now get a loan at get a loan on it. Let's say it's now worth $320,000. I'm not saying you didn't get a bad deal, not saying there wasn't as much appreciation, but just to show you the example. Now you might say, well, I want, instead of this 10% down loan where I'm paying mortgage insurance, I'm going to go ahead and do a 20% down refinance. So now all of a sudden you go in here and you go, okay, we got a 320 and I'm going to pay this down to 256 with a new loan. And all I did was took 80% of 320K. I'm going to get rid of the $270,000 loan I had. Who cares that I paid $300 for it? I'm going to go ahead and refinance. Now I'm going to have to pay it down a little bit to get it to 256, but now you get rid of mortgage insurance and you force your cash flow to go up. It's not a bad strategy. It just does usually take a little bit more of your cash away. It's fine if you don't have to put more cash in, if you could refinance to 20%. The problem is you refinance to 20% as an investment property, you usually get penalized with your rate. So that's why I usually wouldn't recommend the cash in method, because I like taking advantage of the fact that as a homeowner, you get to have lower interest rates. Now, you could, in theory, do a cash in before you moved out, put some cash in, get rid of that mortgage insurance, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, and then that way you catapult and go, okay, now I'm going to go 5% on the next one, 5% on the next one, and kind of keep catapulting and slowly do these. That's okay. So I'm all for having, at least a safety net of cash flow. You don't have to necessarily have these massive gobs of cash flow because it limits your growth potential, but it does increase your security. So you're doing this, right? What do you want? Growth or more security? That's the constant balance you have to face with debt and cash flow. So then we got this question here is, this was a unique one. Base Trump had a question about installing something that might limit 5G radiation in rental properties, and I wanted to just bring up the topic of over-improving for tenants. Look, it seems like it would be wise in larger homes to put in solar panels for tenants, or to upgrade with lazy Susans in the kitchen and soft close cabinets. The bottom line is, the tenants aren't going to pay you more for these extra amenities. You can put them in, the tenants will like them and they'll use them, but they won't pay you more rent, because as soon as your rent is more expensive than the next guy's rent, they're leaving. So be careful to over-improve over and above what's normal in your market. All right, then the last question before I get into the live here was, are condos worth it if you don't own the land? And so technically, by definition, with a condo, you own the airspace within the actual unit, but you do actually also own the land. Now, this goes for condos and by the definition that I'm aware of, so double check this and verify it. But you own the airspace within the unit, and then you own an undivided portion of all of the land in the association property. So you do technically own the land, and therefore you get the appreciation. You can depreciate the property when it's a rental. You get all of the benefits that you would of an ordinary property. So I don't see anything wrong with starting with condos. All right, questions in the live streams here. So, do I trust Trulia's crime map when analyzing a deal? Wow, I have to say I have not checked out Trulia's crime map before, but anywhere I think you can access a convenient crime map, yeah, I would probably trust it, because usually usually you get websites that sync up with the local police departments and they just present it in a nicer format. I believe that Trulia could do that well. And this is just me being judgmental. Usually I don't use Trulia that much. Even before Zillow bought them, I didn't use them much. But I'd be open to considering it. And you can always verify. Call your PD. Hey, I'm looking at your crime data on is Trulia. Is this accurate? Ask them directly. They'll tell you. All right, how much is typical to put a deposit for a trade? So a trade, not quite sure what you mean by a trade. If you mean in terms of just like buying a property, an earnest money deposit as a homeowner, I usually see like $5,000, $10,000. Most old school agents will want to see 3% though. For a rental, what are some paint and gloss suggestions for a rental? Look, people get mad at me about this all the time. I'm a big fan of flat everywhere except kitchens and bathrooms, where I go semi-gloss. The reason for that is, in the 80s, there was this long-standing reputation called blow and go that landlords had, and they would just literally blow and go, that is, spray everything semi-gloss. The ceiling, the walls, and the theory was, it's easier to clean. The problem is, it looks low class, and it doesn't look as good as a flat or matte does. Eggshell, it's in the middle. I don't use it. I stick with flat, and then I just go around and I touch up after a tenant leaves. I get the theory. Landlords don't get to deduct this from their, security deposits once tenants have been there for longer than 6 months to a year. So there's this incentive to keep paint lasting longer, but it's just not worth that rental impression, in my opinion. So should I replace a faucet to a new shiny one? If I have one now and it looks a little old, I would rather spend the money there than spend the money on upgrading to something like a semi-gloss paint. Mostly because, think about it, the paint sheens you're doing for you, the faucet you're doing for them, and that is something a tenant does touch every single day. So I'm all for you updating something a tenant works on every single day. Door handles should not be broken. Faucets should not leak when they run. So that's very important. And as far as linoleum, or do-it-yourself vinyl, I would not do linoleum myself. So many people that do-it-yourself linoleum, the big sheet linoleum, end up having crazy bubbles. The tile stick-down linoleum looks pretty cheap and not so good. I love sheet linoleum, though. I just have it professionally done. It's not that expensive. I mean, you can usually do a bathroom for like $280, or a larger master bath for like $450, and you got yourself new flooring with the quarter round. I love linoleum. It's a great way to class up a property for very, very cheap. And the linoleums look really good today. Awesome. Derek posted his first deal in deal analysis today. Let's go ahead and jump over and do a couple deals, and then I'll come back to the live stream here. So let's see. What are we going to do? We are going to go to deal analysis. And Omar is next. So let's go ahead and talk about Omar's deal. Let's do a screen share here. 1 second. Let's see here. Let's get the browser going. Here we go. All right. We're going to do this deal analysis with Omar. So, screen share. Here we go. Omar says, here is a deal I got off market. It was for $475 in Fairfield, California. The appraisal came in at $485 in its current condition, which is great. Just know that the appraisal doesn't mean that it's not actually worth more, especially once you fix it up. But even as is, usually when the appraiser gets a copy of your contract for $475, they look and go, I only have to bring it in at $475. This makes my life easy. The fact that he brought it in at $485, great bonus. But it doesn't mean that's a cap for you. House is dated. We would renovate it. We're having trouble deciding how much to spend. Very little. We want to live there and eventually rent it out. The kitchen is a big concern. It's small for the size of the house, but works functionally. We have a few options. Keep the cabinets and paint them. Keep them, along with new countertops. Yes. Or remove the old and get IKEA cabinets and expand the kitchen. This would require we close the patio sliding door and reframe it into a wall. The kitchen would really open up when we gain the open kitchen concept. This would cost an additional 15 to 20K, and our budget is only 40 to renovate the house. Yeah, I got lots of comments on this. Is it worth the money to get a whole new countertop, or should we just keep what we have and touch it up? What do you think about the loan? Let me get back about the loan. All right, so let's look at the pictures, folks. So this is just the Zestimate. Okay. So let's look at the pictures you have. So this is your pretty classic 70s style cabinet and countertop. I pretty regularly transform these. In fact, I wonder. Oh, I'm trying to think of an address. It's not worth it right now. But let's see what you've got. I'm trying to think of your floor plan. So you've got the step down over here. So the kitchen's up here. You got a dining area here. You're measuring for countertops, the cabinets, the appliances. You got electric. These are the vanities. Okay, kind of dark in the vanity area there. Yeah, okay, so here's the thing. Surprisingly, what happens is, if you go in and tear this kitchen out, here's exactly what you're going to do. You're going to tear the kitchen out. Then you're going to tear the flooring out. Then you're going to start tearing the walls up. Then, yeah, you're right. You're going to be into the project for 15 to 20 grand more, and you're going to be waiting like 4 or 5 weeks for your IKEA kitchen. It's not worth it. You got to get in there. And let's see here. What I would do, and I've done this regularly, is paint the inside and the outside of the cabinets, spray them very carefully, make sure there aren't drips, see if you can get somebody who knows what they're doing to do this, then add some hardware to this. I would definitely replace the countertop and just go with a nice quartz, comes with a new sink, replace the appliances, and call it a day. The reason I say that is, even though it feels more closed off, it's actually not that bad for a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2,200 square foot house, mostly because why turn what is now a slider letting in a lot of light into a single wide door solely to pull the kitchen out more? Now you definitely have to replace all the flooring, which maybe you're doing anyway, but now you're downsizing the actual, the dining room or wherever this person is standing, letting in less light. It's not a bad idea what you're saying. I really like the idea of what you're saying, and the idea of what you're saying is right along the same lines of what I really like doing, mostly because I love tearing out kitchens. But let me show all you folks a couple things. Hold on. Let's do this. I'm going to pull up a Matterport really quick. All right. Hold on one sec. So I have 2 that I can show you, and then I'm going to answer your lives as well. I want to find... I don't want to waste too much time looking for it, but I feel like it might be worth it because I literally painted these exact cabinets. I just can't remember what the darn address was. I remember where it was too, which is funny. It was, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it, but anyway, they'll end up looking beautiful when you do it and you actually transform it. That's not gonna happen. Okay, well I'll show you this other one that I have. This is the one that we're working on right now. We just posted about it on YouTube, and we've been talking about it here as well. Let's go ahead and screen share it now. So watch this. Here we go, dollhouse. Okay. All right. See this one? Who remembers this? I don't know. Maybe you guys have seen this before. So this house is very much the same kind of debate where it's like, this is terrible. Tear it out and let's get rid of the kitchen entirely and start over. And so what we did here is we originally thought, scrape it, start over. We were going to take this garage door and move it over here into the dining room. And then we would be able to fully have a loop around here, build a wall here, and then actually have the entrance to the kitchen right here. I might have blocked that with my mouse. That sounds pretty crazy, but we've actually done it before on the same floor plan. So garage door goes from there to here. Make this a full loop, have the kitchen open right here, and this wall is gone. So now you have a functional corner, 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 corner. You like double the functionality of the kitchen. And I think it's a great idea. Problem is, it adds another, 10 to 15 grand to the project, and it's just not worth it for a rental property. Yes, I know you're going to live in this property at first. Just the one regret I had when I did this the first time was it was a place I lived in, and now I look back and I go, great, I'm not getting any more rent for it. So what are we going to do? We're actually just tearing out these cabinets right here, making this countertop flat, new countertop, paint the cabinets, and watch what happens to our reno. Give us about 2 weeks and I'll be able to post pictures. We'll drop this, we'll make this a range, and all of a sudden, we save a ton of money. And I like saving money, especially if places are going to be rental properties. And if this is your first rental property, keep that in mind too. If this is your first rental, it's something where you have to look and you have to go, wait a minute, this is my first rental, money's going to be tight. You don't want to spend it all right away. So, all right, let's go on to, let's see what other question you had here. You had a question about the loan. Also, what do you think about the loan? We're putting down, yeah, you're putting down 3.5%. You're borrowing the rest. So, yeah, money, don't do the new kitchen when you're putting down 3.5%. Our rate is 4.5%. APR 5.12. Conventional, on a conventional loan. Wait, but you're doing FHA. Our rate is 4.5%. Okay. An idea of mine is to renovate the house with a $40K budget and get it reappraised within a couple of years to remove the... Yeah, I'm all for you getting it reappraised, but don't overspend for the sake of this appraisal. What's going to give you value is... hold on one second. I gotta be right back. Let me do that. Give me 1 second. Back. Okay, sorry I had to do that to you folks. I had to do it. Okay, so here's the thing. Remember what's going to give you folks value when you're dealing with investment property. The comps. It doesn't matter really how much in upgrades you do. The comps are going to be what gives you value. Remember that description I just gave you in that 3D Matterport tour where we were talking about doing that basic renovation of the kitchen? Watch what I'll show you something here, okay? Watch this. Meet Kevin kitchen remodel. You guys could Google this before I change my website, which is gonna be soon. But where is it? Is this still up? Meet Kevin kitchen remodel before after. I'm on a private browser here. It doesn't show. Hold on 1 sec. I have I have some before and after pictures that I could pull up, but apparently I can't anymore. It used to always come up. It doesn't matter. I was just going to show you about how we over-improved that one particular property. And the thing is, it's the same floor plan. It's on the same street as the first property that we lived in. Here it is. Got it. And watch this. You'll like this. Okay, so here we go. Look at this. Here's my old website, which is still my current website, but whatever. Look at this. This is literally the same property I just showed you, except we bought it as a total repo. And notice how this is the same exact floor plan, the same kitchen, except there is no kitchen. And then look at the after. Okay, this was back when like the beiges were popular. This was my other favorite color called Haze and Swiss Coffee. And so we did the full IKEA kitchen, and we totally designed this place for us to live in. We did not care about tenants at all. As you could tell by the crown molding, see, this is where the garage door was. We moved it over here. We put the wall in. We opened this up, pulled this wall back a little bit, did the flat countertop. So look at how much work was done here and how we got all this junk that we don't really need, these lazy Susans, the organizers. Great, this is fun. Look at this. I could pull a wok out of the depths of the cabinet. It's awesome. It's cool. But no appraiser is going to care. And that right there is all I really want you to take away is an appraiser's not going to care. So don't over-improve solely because of the appraisal. I have people that over-improve properties all the time, and the one thing that consistently happens is the appraisals come in low compared to their expectations because they over-improved. All right, great. Next deal. So now we're looking at a deal in Oklahoma City for $79,900. It's listed as a hot home. It's a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. Let's go ahead and share with you. Okay, here's our. Oh yeah, sorry, I'm getting distracted. But here was the article that one of our group members sent about the EMFs. So in case you're wondering why I have "Are EMFs dangerous" up on one of my tabs, I swear it's related to a question. Okay, so into this deal. What do we got? Oklahoma City. Redfin expects this to sell soon. Usually they're right. Just so you know, usually when Redfin says it's a hot home and they expect it to sell soon, they're only wrong maybe like 1 in 20 times. As a real estate agent, I know when I put a listing up for sale and I get the email that says, Redfin thinks your home is a hot home, I'm like, great, yes, this means I'm probably going to get offers. And oftentimes I do. It's kind of cool. All right, what do we got here? Although there have been times where I'm like, yeah, right.